over Jay Blank now. TJ Sanders, who's been nursing a hurt back, we'll see how he can hold up. Not the only change, Ryan Slater into that opposite position, also a different look for Canada.
And to get things going, Dan Jansen Van Doorn. And already an overpass on the first attack, but Yant on the attack. Canada, Jansen transition. Perrin can't finish it. Going the other way, Lopez already. Back and forth we go. This time Perrin again, first point to Canada.
Well, and that, what a great first point, a rally back and forth. Middle blocker Daniel Jansen Van Doorn coming up with two big digs to keep Canada in that one, and then Gord Perrin, it wasn't a perfect set, it was hanging inside, but he played it smart off the hands and gets Canada on the board first.
JVD at home from Langley, BC, a Trinity Western product. And Lopez, cross court, that's a name we're going to be saying a lot.
Well, that's what he can do. He did it last night against Puerto Rico, bringing the power. Such a fast snap on that cross court kill. Ties it up at 1.
And it is another youngster, Marlon Yant, another one, a young leader on this Cuban team. Last time these two teams met at the Norseca Championships last year in Winnipeg. Cuba coming out victorious. Now Perrin on the attack. Oh, it's a great pickup though. And the set comes back to Margarejo. Ban over, incredible. But in comes Margarejo. Canada can't quite do it a second time, and already some fireworks here in Vancouver.
Some major hustle plays by Canada to try and extend that rally, but it was Margarejo going hard off the hands to finish it up, but the fans love it. They are into this.
And it was Yant and Lopez who were big on the service line yesterday. They were eliciting some oohs and ahs from the crowd when they bring something fierce. And that one goes long from Yant, had a lot on it.
Well, Cuba so often from the service line, it's all or nothing with them. Yant and Lopez, as well as Margarejo, just have such huge serves and they really go for it. And when it works, it really works, but that one landing far past the end line.
And Sanders with the standing serve, quickly returned forcefully, and Cuba retakes the lead.
Well, that was the captain, Osoria, in the middle with that quick attack. He will go back to serve, and that will bring in Robert Landy Simon. He's a star, just brought back into the Cuban lineup this summer.
6'10", Robert Landy Simon. And the set to Slater, the block is there, it's Lopez.
Well, Slater going into the block could see where that was going.
And hold up, they're calling, I believe, a net violation. Cuba immediately calling for the challenge, and it looked like potentially on the way up. Robert Landy Simon, there was a vibration.
We will see the replay. Each team has 2 challenges they can use per set. They get to keep the challenge if it's successful. If it's unsuccessful, they lose it.
And it is usually a very quick, fluid kind of challenge. And they are going to highlight it. We're all going to find out at the exact same time. Fans, players, coaches, commentators.
Everyone looking up to the screens here in Pacific Coliseum.
They immediately called for it. So normally when a team is forcefully calling for it, they think they're onto something, but it's not always accurate. And here we are.
It's very close. There is a fault though.
But is it Canada's fault?
It will be Canada's point as the Cuban blocker just grazing the net. You cannot touch the net, and he did with his jersey, so Canada ties it up at 3.
And on the replay, it looked like there might have been a Canadian net touch, but it was Cuba's first. And now Perrin at the service line. That one is handled. Margarejo. Transition chance for Canada. Perrin to Mar, into the block, out of bounds, point Canada.
Oh, great job by Mar, as that set out of system by Gord Perrin was pretty tight to the net. There were all 3 blockers camped out, ready for that block. But Mar knows that, goes high off the hands, and puts Canada up by 1.
Perrin out of Creston, BC, now playing in Brazil. One catches a piece of the tape. Simon on the quick set, and it's in. Point goes back to Cuba.
Close one on that one as Simon paints the end line with that attack out of the middle. And it's Lopez, one of the strongest servers for this Cuban team, who will go back to the end line.
And he had 4 aces yesterday. That one off a piece of the tape. Band gets to it well. Tamar. Don't think that caught any of the block. That was straight off the net and out of bounds.
Mar trying to cut that very sharp cross court, and it doesn't make it over the tape.
Now they have to handle Lopez's serve again. There it is. You hear the ooze from the crowd, and it's a joust at the net, down on Canada's side. And already Lopez showing what he can do from back there at 6'4".
Some serious muscle behind that serve. And it was just too tight a point. Graham Vigrass going up for the joust, but he gets muscled back onto Canada's side.
That one, again, a piece of the tape. Quick set, Vigrass goes out of bounds, and an unforced error now for Canada, and there is some daylight for Cuba.
Well, an unfortunate error there by Graham Vigrass, who normally has quite high efficiency out of the middle. It will be important for Canada to be able to establish that middle attack to open things up for the outside hitters.
That one finally goes to an end. Service for Lopez comes to an end there, and it's 7-5. Cuba puts it long, but already some damage has been done to the Canadians. 1 point away from the first technical timeout. It is Vigrass, who is out of Calgary, went to the University of Calgary, floats that one. Goide sets to Margarejo. And Mar off the block and out, and Canada pulls one back.
Well, that's what Mar is looking for when he knows he's got the triple block against him, as he's had a couple times. He's trying to go off that third blocker who's coming to close from the left side. It's worked for him 2 times now here in the first set.
Vigrass. Margarejo again, and there's the block for Canada. Slater and Jansen Van Doorn.
That is a huge point for Canada. Solo block. It was just Slater against Margarejo, but he had his number, reading exactly the angle he was going for. That is what Canada really feeds off of, is that block defensive game.
And we are tied at 8. Lopez. And that brings us to the first technical timeout. There's that elevation from the back row for Lopez.
Well, we know who to look for. We know the ball's going to be going to Lopez a lot of times during the game. Bringing him out of the back row there, he finds a little bit of room down the line and makes the most of it.
8-7, first technical timeout, Emily. Already living up to the hype.
Oh my gosh, are we only at the first technical? It's been an exciting start to the game. Some great rallies with defense going back and forth.
Glenn Hogue returning to the coaching ranks after the World Championships in 2018. He coached Canada to a first Olympic berth since 1992, 4 years ago. Left, was replaced by Stéphane Antiga from France, but he left after the World Championships, and Hogue steps back in.
Yeah, it's been an interesting quad for the Canadian team because of that. Antiga was handpicked by Hogue to be his successor. He brought a lot of energy, some new ideas to this program. The Canadian men were really loving having him on board, but due to some personal reasons, some family reasons, he was finding it too difficult to split his time between Europe and coaching pro there and coaching the national team here, and had to give up the spot as head coach halfway through the quad to try and keep things as consistent as possible. Instead of bringing in a new coach, Glenn Hogue stepped out of retirement to rejoin, but yeah, definitely a little bit of unrest comes with that.
Margarejo with the big serve. Set comes to Mar. In transition, Goide, that's straight out of bounds. No touch off the Canada block.
Well,
right back at
Cuba is going to call for a challenge on that one, looking for a touch. They have used one, I believe, already so far.
Jansen Van Doorn shaking his head. He's saying, no, it didn't, although is he trying to maybe throw things off somehow, tease fate a little bit?
we'll see. We've got some Star Wars music, I believe. Some Death
Imperial
Star.
March.
Okay, there we go. As we wait to find out which way this point will go. And with a game this tight, these points are so important.
There's the look. Doesn't look like it was there. Just the graze of the fingertip, no touch. And how might that change things? Cuba out of challenges, and we're tied at 8.
That's right. They cannot use any more challenges this set. Canada still has 2 challenges to use.
And Slater, another one of the products of Trinity Western University. He's also at home in the Lower Mainland. Port Coquitlam now plying his trade in the south of France in Montpellier. Goide, Simon, Ban is there on the pickup. Slater back row, can't finish. Good recovery by Perrin. Tamar, he has to tip it. It's out of bounds. Canada's now arguing that it was, they think they called it a lift.
Calling it a lift on Mar, killing out of his hands, a little bit ugly. Unfortunate on that one. It really erred due to the set. Too tight and inside from TJ Sanders, making it very difficult for Mar to do much with that.
Well, what's the difference between a lift and a tip in that instance? Because it looked there was very little difference.
Holding in his hand for just a second too long.
And Simon puts it long, and back and forth we go. We're tied at 9. And Steve Marr, one of the newcomers since last we saw this Canadian team at an Olympics. 8 returning players from Rio 2016. And Marr gives it right back going into the net.
That puts Cuba up by 1.
That is sending Adrian Eduardo Goide back to the line. Sanders to Slater in the back row into a huge Cuban wall.
Right into the waiting arms of Yent, who was armpits over the net on that one.
Have a look at that elevation. Yent one-on-one essentially. 11-9. Marr handles it. The set to JVD and another block.
Well, and that's something that Canada needs to get on top of. They need to get their middle attack going. We've yet to see a kill out of the middle. And when you can establish a strong middle attack, it opens things up for your outside hitters, as the blockers are not going to be just focused on releasing outside.
Goide, an error on the serve reception there. And Cuba now up 4. Canada has some questions to ask as they call a timeout. Now, Emily, this Cuban team, some faces who have been in the program, went to go abroad, are now welcomed back in.
Well, absolutely. There's been some big changes in Cuba over the last couple of years. For a very long time, Cuba did not allow their players to go and play elsewhere in other pro leagues. They like to keep them at home. And then you had a very strange situation often of some of the top players looking to defect, and they would be leaving to go and earn a good wage abroad by playing in Europe, in Brazil, in other leagues. But just recently, in the last couple of years, Cuba has changed that, allowing players to go and play overseas, gain that competition, perhaps elevating the level of their program, but then also bringing back some of those stars they lost, 1 or 2 cycles ago, and that is the case for Robert Landy Simon, one of the top middle blockers in the world, who left Cuba and has come back now in the hopes of qualifying for the Tokyo Olympics.
And Perrin really just swipes that one off the block to pick up the point for Canada.
Well, it doesn't always have to be the big kill. You got to look to change things up when it needs it. And Gord Perrin saw there the block was not pressing fully, so he made the most of it, pushing it into the arms and down, and gets the point for Canada as they will try to claw their way back in the set.
Jansen Van Doren serving. He says his mom sold about 70 tickets to this event. And right back, Yant. Well,
it is the 1-2 punch of Yant and Lopez, seeing a large volume of the sets on Cuba's side. Canada's block is going to need to find an answer for them.
It is Yant back to serve. He can bring it. Dan gets down for that one. The sets to Vigras. The quick set down the middle, just as you said Canada needed to do.
Canada needs to do that, and Vigras is their top producing middle attacker. So he's a good one to get it rolling with. When the chance is there, you want to try and push the middle.
Sanders stepping back out of London, Ontario, the standing serve again. You don't often see that. And down the pipe, Yant almost had it. Good recovery, but here comes Perrin. And another pickup for Cuba. Back and forth we go. Ban the bump set to Perrin. And that one off the Canadian block and out of bounds, and Cuba fired up for this one.
Well, both teams doing so much. Canada looking kind of tired actually after that long rally as they were coming up with some big defensive plays, but just not able to get too much through the block. When it did, it was an easy pickup for the defense, setting up Cuba's offense time and time again until they could put it away.
It's Osoria, captain. It's a difficult bump by Ban. Cuba has a chance to push the lead, and they do that. It's 16-10 as we head to the second technical timeout, and Canada has some figuring out to do.
Well, Canada's strength is their block defense, but right now it is Cuba putting up a huge defensive effort. Some big digs there from all the players in Cuba's back court, making it difficult for Canada to score.
The Canadian players, Glenn Hogue, having a word. They're down by 5 in the first set.
Well, we knew this was not going to be a cakewalk for either team, expecting that this game could go the distance. So it's all about hanging in there, try not to let a set get away from you if you're Canada, and just improving. And as we've mentioned before, one of Canada's strengths is their depth. So if something isn't working for a player, expect them to go to the bench and add a different look.
And in a game like this where there is so much emotion, you can feel it. 1 or 2 points, how much does that sort of change the complexion in a hurry?
Well, 1 or 2 points is really big when you are in a close matchup like this. So they need to focus on that 1 point, not look at the end goal 25, but just on creeping back, trying to close the lead, which right now is sitting at a distance of 5, Cuba up 16-11.
It's a hill to climb. It's not quite a mountain just yet. And Vigras almost from Cuba.
And there you go. You set up that middle block. Vigras had a lot of room to work with.
Sending Perrin back to the line. He recently played in the World Club Championships. He's with Cruzeiro out of Brazil. He's applied his trade literally around the world. That one's off the tape. Goide to Simon, and it's in.
Well, Simon with a give and go as he had to take the pass. Normally the middle blocker trying to stay out of that play, but with it coming short off the tape, he takes it ready still for the quick attack. He's very good at finding those deep corner angles.
And, a few lumps in the Canadian throats right now. It's Lopez to serve. To Vigras. Quick response from Canada. That's what you needed.
Do it again. It's working. Vigras with 3 back-to-back kills. It will be Vigras going back to the service line. Daniel Jansen Van Doorn. Jansen Van Doorn, probably the stronger blocker of the two, but not as offensive. We'll see if TJ Sanders can get things rolling with him as well.
Canada now needing to pick up a few points on serve. Putting Cuba into trouble. Mergarejo rolls it over now. Transition for Canada, out of system. Joust at the net. Sanders, Jansen Van Doorn, great work by Simon. Mergarejo, and it's wrong.
Out of bounds. Cuba wanted to touch, but guess what? You're out of challenges, Cuba. Can't look for it. It is a point to Canada. They're fighting tooth and nail to get back in this.
They might have had a case, but too bad, so sad. We're actually right near the people reviewing, and it was very close. I don't think it was off the block. Simon, the block is there. Another chance. Lopez this time goes off the block, but Canada on that serve, pulling one back.
Canada looking a little bit sharper there. Interesting to see Graham Vigrass, he pulled out his spin serve. Now the first time going back to the service line, I noticed that he went with a float, a little bit easier, perhaps just making sure he got it in, but this time had a good run there with a couple of back-to-back strong spin serves.
And it's Margarejo to serve, and it's an ace for Cuba.
What a serve from Margarejo, who went corner to corner, just painting the sideline. Very difficult to get a pass off of that one. And we're gonna see Canadian coach Glenn Hogue calling a timeout as Cuba up by 5, 19-14 here in the first set.
It's a battle of heavyweights right now, Emily, and what is separating things?
Well, the execution on the firepower really from the service line of Cuba, we knew that was going to be a factor, and it is early on here in the game. But also they're just making those plays, coming up with the defense and then finishing, where Canada is having a difficult time getting it past Cuba's defense often. Canada started to get things going a little bit with the middle attack. That's something they're going to need to do, but it can't just be with one middle when they go back row and have nothing going this time. So they'll try and get things going with Daniel Jansen Van Dorn now as well. 19-14
Cuba. We're going to 25, and this is the first set of what could be 5. Best 3 of 5, and Margarejo. This time, the timeout pays off. You ice the server, you pick up the point.
Well, and you can see he was looking for that same angle again, trying to paint that same sideline. We are going to see a little change up here, as there will be no setter on the court for Team Canada for this one play, and bring in Siobhan Vernon Evans instead of TJ Sanders. This is for blocking purposes.
Incredibly talented player. Vernon Evans had a quiet day yesterday, and he came out a little bit early too. And Slater, booming serve. It's going to be a free ball. Now they know there is no setter for Canada. Vernon Evans on the attack, agonizingly watching that slowly fall to the floor.
Well, and that should have been picked up by Canada's defense. It was a tight set over to Vernon. He wasn't able to get it past the waiting block of Cuba, but Canada's defense has to know that and be ready to pick up those kind of balls.
As Jay Blankenau, he started yesterday, the setter coming in off the bench today for Ryan Slater, and it's Robert Lendy Simon, all 6'10" of him, and there are times looking like he's about that as wide compared to some of his more slender colleagues. He is a big, strong man.
He's got a lot of muscle behind both his attacks and his serves. Usually puts in a slightly more conservative those spin serve just compared to some of his teammates.
And he's going to want to do that one all over again.
Well, Canada does have some ground to make up. Cuba is leading 20-16, but it'll be Steve Marr back at the service line. Canada has 3 attackers in the front row. Jay Blankenau, the setter, into the back row.
Marr plays for Dynamo Moscow, Russia, and an ace!
Well, that's the time to get an ace for sure. Firing up your team, but also putting a little bit of indecisiveness and doubt into those passers as they were trying to second guess who's going to take it.
And it's a timeout for Cuba. It seems in the last at least few points, Canada has sort of weathered that storm and is now able to match it toe-to-toe.
Well, as we said, we're not expecting this to necessarily be a 3-set win for either team. So regardless of whether Canada is able to catch up all the way, they want to get that momentum, that confidence back to carry into the second set, no matter how this first set is determined.
If you were listening earlier to Puerto Rico, Mexico, we were checking in on the Canadian women's team in Olympic qualifying this weekend in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Unfortunately for Canadian fans, they went down to defeat today to the hosts from the Dominican Republic, 3-1. That means the dream of an Olympics is over for another 4 years for that team.
Always such a heartbreaking one. Norseca zone, such a strong one on both the men's and women's side, but the women's side between the U.S. and Dominican and other upstart teams like Puerto Rico, it's never easy to take that qualifying spot.
Here comes Lopez into the block. Perrin, Jansen Van Dorn.
Monster block is right from Gord Perrin as he turned to the crowd to get them fired up, feel that support. Canada is never better than when they start rolling with their block.
So many players from BC, from the Lower Mainland, wanting family and friends to get loud. Marr putting them into trouble with another serve. Free ball. Blankenau to Perrin to the floor.
Well, that was a close one. Not a perfect set there for Gord Perrin. Just try to do something with it, but fortunately the block, only one of them up there with him, and he tips it straight down on what was a tight set.
And Marr, Canada, chance to tie. Another booming serve, but Yant goes into the block. Mexico, another crack, or Cuba, another crack at it. And Dan Jansen Van Doorn, and we're tied.
I think he got that one with his pinky. Just dropping that left hand at the last second, all over it. The momentum, the energy is on Canada's side now as they tie it up at 20.
Cuba's players looking like they're trying to figure it out amongst themselves. Canada flying down 20-15 a moment ago. Goide to Yant. Response immediate.
Yeah, big cross-court swing from Yant. Blair Ban, the libero, was there, but moving a little bit to his left. Can't get his body behind it to bring it back in the court. That was a great serving run by Steve Marr to take them within Cuba, now just down by one.
Adrien Goide to serve. Takes something off it. And Blankenau, that serve spun out of his hands wrong, and they're calling 4 hits on Canada.
Well, it was a very low pass, first out of the hands of Stephen Marr, and Blankenau trying to tee up, I believe, Jansen Van Doorn with the attack, and it ended up hitting him in the arm on the way out, and we will see Jansen Van Doorn taking a seat, and Arthur Schwark coming into the game for the first time, perhaps trying to get some of that offense going out of the middle.
Schwark, a product of York University, now plays in Italy. Schwark's out of Toronto. Goide, Cuba, 3 points from taking what has been a memorable first set. Blankenau to Perrin. It is right out. Canada's arguing, I think there was a touch.
Well, the linesperson calling it out of bounds.
Was it off the Cuban coach? Let's look at the replay. I think it was. It was out of bounds, but it was off Cuba's coach.
Not sure about Cuba's coach standing so close to the court there, to be honest.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Well, and it's an interesting dynamic with Cuba having no challenges left. Canada has both their challenges to use. It doesn't look like they'll be using.
They are
challenging. They are using a challenge here, though they've got 2 to burn.
Now it's interesting that there isn't a designated area for a coach to stand. It just, my view here, because then stuff like this happens if you allow the coach to be a half a foot from the sidelines.
Well, and the question may be, did it touch the player before the coach? From where we're standing, we're behind the coach, so hard to see whose other arms, hands might have been involved. But such a crucial point here in the final stretch of the first set.
Canadian assistant coach Dan Lewis, former libero with the national team, arguing with our second official. Well, he's chatting with our second official. I wouldn't say it was an argument by any stretch. And this is going to be an interesting challenge because there was a player right near.
I don't think I've seen a challenge where the coach was involved in the actual play. Just a foot away.
This is, I don't believe there's an aerial camera where we could see this.
Really difficult to see from the different camera angles what could have happened here.
Now it might have been the coach and then the player. There might have been a deflection, but was it coach-player or player-coach?
Well, this is a pretty big disturbance one way or another. definitely stopping whatever flow was going for either team.
Now either way, I hope something is learned from this and there's some sort of message driven, and it doesn't look like there is a conclusive camera angle to do it, so it is Cuba's point. There just wasn't the camera angle.
The different camera angles are either showing the feet and what would have happened landing on the line, but not high enough of an angle to see their arms, and then the other camera angle is coming from behind the coach, so nothing conclusive. It will be Cuba's point.
Back in action here. Vernon Evans not able to finish it. Yant. Canada's block is there. Now they'll chance in transition. Blankenau to Perrin. Right back comes Canada.
Perrin has had to come through with the tip. I don't think all tips he's been given have really been a choice. It seems like the timing with some of these sets just a little bit out of system. But whether or not that was his first choice, it was the right play. There was room right in the pot there. He makes the most of it. The score now 23-21 for Cuba. Arthur Schwark will serve. Cuba having a little check of their rotation, making sure they're in the right spot.
All right, here we go. Cuba leads by 2. Schwark, handled by Yant. Lopez, Canada gets the dig in. The set's to Perrin. Back over to the Canadian side. Perrin again takes something off it. Third time, not the charm. Blankenau, Vigras, point, Canada.
That was the set for Perrin. Poor guy, it had to been set 3 times in a row, all of which the Cuban block knew where it was going. But that one in transition, right play, right up to Vigras in the middle. He's got the one-on-one block and makes the most of it.
And it is a timeout for Cuba, up 23-22. We don't know if this first set is going to come to a close anytime soon. We both have to catch our breath. Unfortunately, we have to still keep going here. I've seen just about everything so far in this first set.
Yeah, what a way to start off this match. A barn burner of a first set as Canada trailing by 1. There is just no room for those unforced errors now. You know they're feeling the pressure every time they go back to the service line.
And we saw it yesterday against Mexico. Canada had slow starts in the first 2 sets. Kind of similar case this time where they've had to rally late. Schwark again to serve. He plays in Italy. Yant gets to it and gets the set back. The block is there, but it's down on the Canadian side.
Oh, the Canadian block was set up in the right spot, but there's not enough penetration as the strong attack makes its way through and creeps down on Canada's side. It will be set point for Cuba.
And Yant is back to serve, and if you're Cuba, not a bad guy to have back there. A couple of aces last night. Not too much on that. Blankenau to Perrin. Cuba can finish this set here. Margarejo, and it finds its way in. Cuba takes the first set, 25-22.
Well, a close set, but Cuba just able to finish with those last few points. It'll be interesting to see if Canada tries to change up any of their lineup. They finished with a double sub in of Jay Blankenau and Vernon Evans in the opposite position. Not sure if they're going to start the way they did the first set or try and make those changes right off the bat.
And we're going to take a break. The team switch ends will be back in literally just a couple minutes for the second set. brand new game here in Vancouver. Cuba took two close sets in the first two sets. Canada rallied in impressive fashion, and here we are, set 5.
Well, these fans are getting their money's worth as Canada has just come back roaring with a vengeance from the third set, and then Cuba answering again. You can expect this to be a tight one, but so much of it comes down to what kind of start each team can get. When a game is just to 15 points, you don't have the room to let a team go up and then try and come back. It's very difficult.
4 years ago in Edmonton, it was Cuba dominating over a Canadian team. At that point, it was really considered an upset, with Canada favored at home. This time, the Cuban program is growing back once again, but this one has been a barn burner, and it's Marlon Yant, once injured not too long ago, back to serve to get things going in the 5th set. As Emily said, we go to 15.
Well, despite a few lineup changes throughout the set, Cuba is back with their regular starting lineup.
Canada still has Vigras, Marr, Sanders, Hogue, Slater, and Ban. And here we go. Just about everybody on their feet. Well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people are.
Here we go!
And strap in, everybody. And Hogue, the first point going Cuba's way. No touch on the block. It's 1-0 Cuba.
All right, keep it up.
Well, Hogue finding himself in too tight to where that set was, and he can't get on top of it. Sends it long out of bounds.
And Yant, once again, you noticed a little fatigue earlier. He's had that rest in between the sets. Another booming serve from him. To Slater, cross court, out of bounds, no touch.
Well,
Canada's potentially wanting to challenge.
Looks like Canada is going to call for a challenge on this one.
And here we go. Potentially decisive moment on just the second point of this set. Either Cuba has a little bit of daylight, or we are tied.
On the set to 15. Every point so key.
And it is in. Point Canada.
Successful challenge from Canada. Ties it up at 1. Also just gives that energy to Canada. They get fired up with that one. TJ Sanders will go back to serve.
Felt a little shaky. And now with a point in the bank, Canada has a chance to go on the offensive now. Margarejo. Band can't do much with that, and it's back up 2-1 to Cuba.
Margarejo finding room around that Canadian block. Canada's block is really what got them rolling to jump out to those leads in the 3rd and 4th set.
And it is Osoria. Won't bring much to this. He'll float it right at Hogue. To the pipe. Simon is there.
Well, Simone had that one read as Steve Marr drifting out of the pipe. We haven't seen the pipe used as much as the C-ball out of the right side, where Slater has been so effective. And the long arms of Simone were waiting for that one.
And Osoria is going to get another one at it. They lead by 2. And the tip by Slater.
Very smart play there by Ryan Slater. Hadn't gone to the tip in a while, and the block was waiting. He goes just over those arms. Canada pulls within 1, Cuba leading 3-2.
And Hogue, influential at the service line. In previous games, we see that Cuba has actually decided to challenge it. They're calling a center line fault, as in stepping over the line into the Cuban side.
Now you are allowed to have your foot on the line. It's whether or not the foot goes all the way over the line. without any part of the foot touching, that it would be a fault.
And it is very close. And it's just a matter of, is it if the ball hits the floor first before the foot, or where's the call here?
All right, Sam, show us the replay.
Yeah, it does have to do with when the ball lands
Well, let's have a look.
and how much of the foot is over.
And is there any daylight between the foot and the line? And it is a fault, so point goes to Cuba. And now Canada's arguing something, though.
Well, the point goes Cuba's way, and that's a big point for Cuba. A difference of being up 4-1. Both sides are looking for a rotation check to make sure they've got the next right server. And Canada, definitely some wind taken out of their sails here in the 5th set. They will need to put that behind them.
And it's Osorio still going. The momentum has tipped back in Cuba's favor. A quick set Vigras response from Canada. Now with some work to do.
Simone caught a piece of that attack, but deflects it away from the defenders, giving it to Canada. Canada is going to need to be efficient from the service line.
A serve from Hogue. The set to Lopez. Canada's there at the block, and Simon there finishes, but he's over top of the net.
Comes over the net, too eager on that ball. Reaching over, playing it while it was on Canada's side to play. Canada gets the point. They trail by 1.
And that's 1. And Hogue again. Almost finds the sideline there. In trouble, Cuba. Canada transitions to Slater, can't finish. Margarejo. Can he get there? It's going to be a free ball to Canada. And Tumar on the tip. Yes, he can.
That is the spot, just over the block. Tremendous rally play in transition from Canada. They find a way off of that Cuban block that was getting so many touches to slow down their hits.
And we are tied at 4. Already in a night filled of drama, this 5th set brings some more. To Lopez. And it's off the antenna. Out of bounds.
No arguing that when it struck the antenna first. Canada taking their first lead here in the 5th set, and Cuba is going to call for a timeout.
And the fans are on their feet. The players are urging them to continue bringing it. And Cuba, after taking an early advantage, Canada looking shaky in those first few points, and now in the span of a second.
A run of 4 points from Canada as they found themselves down 4-1. They have answered back. 5-4 now the score.
And as we've seen so many times before, when everything's in Cuba's favor, they're there. They're elite. And this is, perhaps, is this a microcosm or a moment where they are now faced with that little bit of adversity?
Well, how do they answer back? This is just still a 1-point game. But in a set to 15, the first team to 8, they will switch sides. So the teams will continue playing, but they will switch sides on the court.
And it's still Nick Hogue. Another big serve forcing Cuba out of system. Margarejo. The wall is there. It's out of bounds. It's now 6 for Canada.
Well, this is where that hometown crowd pumping you up, point after point, can go a long way.
We were just told attendance here in Pacific Coliseum, 4,580, and they're bringing their A games tonight as well. Margarejo. Almost sticking the arm out by Hogue. Margarejo again, Hogue chases it down. Right at the net, Simon, oh, and there's a net violation on Mar as he went one-on-one with Simon, but then fell into the net.
Well, that was a tough one. Blair Band sending the second ball a little aggressively close to the net. Mar had no chance but to go up, but he was blind there, didn't know where he was, and comes down slightly dangerously. It looks like he's okay.
And now look who is back at the service line. Miguel Lopez. Canada's done a great job of at least nullifying a bit of his sting. And that time, into the net.
Well, if you're Canada, you will take all of those gimme points. Up by 2, 7-5 the score. It's Graham Vigrass who has put up some good serves for Canada. Consistent from the line.
Vigrass, the former Dino. Cross court ace. And they will switch sides. Canada rolling once again.
8-5 is the score here at the switch. It's not a timeout. The teams go directly back onto the court. There is no technical timeout at 8 here.
And Cuba has to find a way to rally quickly. There's not a chance to get back together. Osoria, the captain, trying to urge his team. Simon there, trying to get something out of his teammates. Glenn Hogue on the Canadian sidelines. You'll rarely see expression on his face, and he is showing nothing right now.
He plays it pretty cool. The emotion all comes out after the game, one way or another.
And Vigrass caught some of the net. The sets to Simon, and he puts it down.
Going to the veteran, Simone, when things get tight. And it will be Margarejo back to serve. He's got a big serve, often cutting it to the opposite sideline. We'll see what he can do with this one.
Into the net. And I just saw over in the crowd Brett Walsh, who we spoke to pre-game, the reserve player. He's standing in the aisle. He had his hands on his knees and he jumped up and applauded when that went into the net. Slater, Canada 6 points away from an improbable comeback. He puts that one long though, and Cuba now has a chance to rebuild some of the momentum with Simon at the line, and we've seen how he can serve.
Simon has brought out his strongest serve when things have gotten tight, showing that experience.
Taking something off it with the roll, and Mar, cut shot, and it's in.
What experience from Mar to be able to see the court like that. He had the opening, instead of wailing on it, just perfectly placed roll shot, dropping in front of the Cuban defense. And it will be Mar who goes back to serve now as Canada leads 10-7.
This game, this set goes to 15. Mar, handled by Yant to Lopez. Mar gets down on it. The tip from Hogue. And that one goes off the block and in.
Canada not showing their strongest block as Hogue and Schwark going up at slightly different timing. Gave too much room for Yant on that swing. 2 points between these two teams now. Canada leads.
Goide, 0 margin for error. To Hogue. Off the block and out.
Now for Canada.
Vernon Evans about ready to come back in.
It's the double substitution, strategically bringing Vernon Evans into the front row. Jay Blank now, the setter, goes into the back row. Also brings a larger block with Vernon Evans out there on the outside. We'll see if this works in Canada's favor.
And it's Arthur Schwark One of the players who's come into the program within the last cycle. Into the net.
The toss getting away from him a little bit too far. He wasn't able to execute on that. It's a 2-point difference with Yent, who has been an ace or error kind of server back from
He's been a bit battered as well. He rolled an ankle from the looks of things earlier. He took a ball off the nose yesterday to get a bloody nose. Blankenau, the sets to Hogue, off the block, out of bounds, 3 points away.
Great job by Canada to get behind what was a very tough serve from Yent. Stop any kind of service run he could have gone on.
And it's Blankenau coming back out with Slater going back in, back at the service line. Name we really haven't said much. He's had a quiet weekend. Schwann Vernon Evans.
Well, and they are leaving him in for his serve instead of putting Sanders back into the game, but that does mean there's no setter on the court for this point for Canada.
Set. Off the antenna. Who touched it first? It wasn't off Canada, and it's a point for Canada.
Canada's point, 13-9. Canada within 2 points of taking this game.
Cuba calling a timeout. The comeback so nearly complete for Canada. Not there yet, though.
Well, the timeout trying to regroup and find the things that Cuba does so well between those tough serves and their big swings. But Canada is feeling all the energy right now. It will be Vernon Evans back again at the service line. He dropped in an easier one with his first go at it. Gonna maybe try and pull out a little bit more here, or perhaps focus on just getting it in. Once again, there's no setter on the court for Canada with this current lineup.
Just a few years ago, Vernon Evans playing high school volleyball. Now here he is with his country 2 points away from an impressive and almost decisive win when it comes to Olympic qualifying. I say almost. Vernon Evans out of Scarborough. Brings the thunder there. It's handled though. Lopez into the block.
Canada closes the wall with a triple block on Lopez. They are within 1 point of taking this match.
Not too long ago, it looked unlikely, nigh on impossible, but it wasn't over yet now. Look at that emotion from Hogue on that point. Do not see that often. And Cuba's calling for a replay of something, and is it too late? I don't think anything's been granted. I think they were giving a net violation. Or maybe they have granted it.
This might be a case of trying to use this as a timeout. Trying to freeze the server.
Trying to look over the shoulder of the technicians here. And from this distance, I can't see. So I'm just going to wait until we all get shown the same thing. And here we are. No fault on that one.
Canada's point. Canada now serving for the match, looking to complete this comeback.
One more.
Vernon Evans.
Vernon Evans to complete an improbable comeback. Can they do it right now? Second crack at it for Cuba. Is it out? It is! Is there a touch? No, sir! Canada, down 2 sets, comes back to win it. Oh my goodness.
An unbelievable finish and an unbelievable effort from this Canadian team who never said die. Down 2 sets to tooth and nail, coming out firing and fresh in the third set. And they just